Hello. So right now I am doing a set of notes on energy. Okay. So what do we mean by energy? Energy is a quantitative property, right? So it's a quantitative property, which means it's something that can be measured numerically, that is possessed by an object, which is a collection of mass, that must be present in order for the object to be able to do work or generate heat. Okay, so the ability for an object to be able to do work or generate heat. So if you remember from an earlier video, we measured work in joules. So this is what we're going to use to measure energy. Work was defined as force times distance. So a joule combines these units. The force unit is the Newton. The distance unit is the meter. So work is measured in joules, which is another name for a Newton meter. A big thing is that energy is a conserved, so there's a sense of conservation property. So there is a conservation of energy, meaning that energy cannot be created. So it's not created or destroyed. So energy can be transformed from one form of energy to another energy, but the quantitative amount of energy is always a constant. It cannot be created or destroyed. Okay, we're going to divide the forms of energy into two categories. We're going to have potential energy as opposed to kinetic energy. Okay, Kinetic. Okay, so in this case, potential energy are energy that we cannot readily detect, and energy that can be detected is kinetic. Okay, so in order to be able to detect the amount of potential energy, we actually have to transform it. To measure potential energy, we actually have to transform it into a form of kinetic energy and then be able to measure it. Okay, so the easiest one that's potential energy is thermal, which is what we also call heat. Okay, so thermal energy is the energy that's exhibited in the result of vibrations of particles within atoms. So this is actually within atoms. So things feel warm because their atoms are vibrating more. The particles inside the atoms are vibrating more. Okay, so that's thermal energy. We have chemical energy, which is the energy that bonds two atoms to each other. So this is between atoms. So it's the energy that creates molecules, or that when two atoms bind to each other, the energy that's being exhibited there is chemical energy. We also have nuclear energy, which is energy that binds the particles within the nucleus of an atom, the neutrons and protons. So this is in the nucleus of an atom together. Okay. A there. Nucleus of an atom together. We have electrical energy. So nuclear deals with protons and neutrons and how they're stuck together. Electrical is about electrons, right? So this is the movement of an electron, usually through a circuit or through some sort of media. We have elastic energy. In elastic energy, this is when an object has motion and the motion ceases, but then the energy isn't converted into something else. So you have kinetic energy moves an object, the object ceases to move, but then there's no conversion into another form of energy. So at some point that energy is going to be released as a kinetic form later on. And then we have gravitational energy, which is it's a potential energy that two objects that have mass are attracting each other. So if two things have mass, they're attracting each other. The potential for that attraction is what we call gravitational energy. Okay, so on the other side of it, we have this stuff that we're calling kinetic energy. Kinetic energy has a couple of different forms. We have radiant energy, which is either electromagnetic or it's a form of light. Okay, so in this is something that is energy that is not possessed by a particular collection of mass. It's radiating out from the mass. This would include things like radio waves, X-rays, visible and invisible light, things like that. We have mechanical energy, which is an example where the kinetic energy is actually owned by a collection of mass, right? So this is where you actually see the mass itself moving in some way, shape, or form. And then we have sound energy, which is what happens when you have the radiant energy transfers to mechanical energy. So if something that's radiant causes something that has mass to move, there's a vibration, and that vibration is what we call sound. So 6 forms of potential energy: thermal, chemical, nuclear, electrical, elastic, and gravitational. Within atoms, between atoms, in the nucleus of the atoms with regard to the electrons, stored as a result of motion and the attraction between objects that have mass. Kinetic energy is going to be radiant, mechanical, and sound. Radiant is things that are where the energy is not possessed by the mass. So that would be like electromagnetism, X-rays, light, things like that. Mechanical is when the energy is possessed by the mass is moving as a result of the energy. And finally, sound, which is where you are moving from radiant energy to mechanical energy. So something that is radiant is causing something that has mass to move, and the subsequent vibration is what we call sound. All right, there's your notes on energy, and that's it for today.